Hey everybody, it's Bruce and George here in Small Pond Studios, and today we ask a very important and very fundamental question. Is it time for you to release your debut album? So this is a slightly more complicated decision than it was in previous years, because in the old days you got your band together, you did a few gigs and you made your first record and went on from there. Now there's an awful lot of albums out there, full stop. The danger is you release a record that doesn't plug into any scene. It falls flat. You release the record on a Monday, by Tuesday it's already an old record, and worse, it's kind of failed and you've put yourself back, if anything.
Yeah.
You know? So there's risk there, and there is this question of once it's out there you can't recall it, so that will represent your band, so it kind of needs. There are debut albums that are so strong it sets up a career forever, and we kind of want to be in that camp. So let's have a little bit of a think about timing. Perhaps George, you've made quite a lot of debut albums for a lot of artists. How would you advise people to go around thinking about this and making the right decision?
I think it massively depends on the genre and the scene you're in.
It's a really good point. What do you do if you're kind of unclear about where you fit in? Because I speak to a lot of bands who kind of do not got that straight in their minds, you know.
I think speak to someone else, because the fact is most people will know which genre you're in. You just are so close to it, you think you're in this
Right,
magical,
yeah.
mystical genre, but you might just be a rock band.
It's probably something to be a little bit concerned about if you can't answer that question, I think.
Yeah.
Because an artist's job is to have a real strong sense of direction, and some things that'll help you make that decision are which bands would you support and which audiences would like your stuff. So pretty clear. If you've got a different style of track on, you know, if you've got 12 songs that are all different, that could be an issue, so you might want to look at that. The artist's job is to be really focused in one area by and large.
Yeah, so it depends on the genre. Be clear what you want to plug it into. Yeah, pop bands tend to maybe do more singles or an EP and then a bunch of singles, so especially within that scene that's a better way to sort of stay in people's faces, because it's the pop world and you might disappear quite easily because there is so much content out there. If you're a folk artist, it's maybe a bit different. You can maybe focus on doing a few EPs and then build up to a mini album, which is 6 tracks, or then even an album if you've got the budget. What
is the downside of an indie or a rock band or a metal band just not releasing an album and just putting singles out? Is that possible these days?
Yeah, it's totally doable. I think especially with things like Spotify, people are listening to tracks. They don't listen to an album anymore. People listen to playlists rather than albums now.
Yeah, I'll tell you another reason why I'm a fan of prolonging that state. I think inevitably for a live-based band to be taken seriously, they have to put an album out at some stage.
Yes.
You're always a kind of, you know, you're lacking substance until you do that. However, the longer you put it off, the more you're in this category of new band, which has got a vibe and excitement about it. And also you're open to things like the new band slots on festivals.
Yes, yeah, if you've had 2 albums out.
If you've got 2 albums out, you're an old band.
Yeah.
So that's probably an argument not to rush this decision.
I think you're still finding your feet as well. I mean, one of the biggest things I've ever looked back at is I've thought I was ready for something, and then you look back 6 months later and you go, oh man, I was so not ready, like we should have just waited.
Yes. It comes down, we often talk about this concept of patience. One of the biggest killers for bands is just this impatience. It's got to go out tomorrow, and then they put it out, nothing happens, everyone panics, sometimes they blow a couple of grand on PR, still nothing happens.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose that's the danger. This is becoming quite clear now. We need a certain set of things around the band for that album to come out and go into something rather than into space. So let's be really specific. What are those things we need in terms of audience, press, awareness, profile? What is it?
If you're making an album, make sure you have the budget to not just make the album, but make the campaign happen after the album.
Really
so
good
you
advice.
Need the PR. You might need to put a tour with that, because the PR company needs things to work with. An album maybe isn't just enough. They need to say, here's the new album and they're on tour here, and here's the videos, and all these things work together to make the campaign that the PR company have actually got a strong campaign and assets to work with.
Yes, I've got a suggestion how to achieve this, because that's a tall order to save up that stuff. You're looking at minimum 10,000 quid to record, mix, master and do a basic campaign.
Maybe do it for 7 if you're lucky.
Yeah, and if you pull in a few favours, I mean, bands work miracles. I mean, I'm saying it's 10 grand minimum, but I've seen people do it for nought and do really, really well.
If there's 5 of you in a band and you're all working an hour a day on it, that's as much as someone who's doing it as their job.
Yeah.
But you just need to make sure that you do delegate those roles between your band members.
Yes. But something that'll help you quantify this is if you could run a successful pledge campaign or Kickstarter and raise 6-7 grand, that shows you've got the audience. It shows that you understand what scene you're going in because there's your audience, and you're generating a bit of money. So whether you do that or you don't, it's probably a useful marker in the sound.
You can even set your targets lower than that. Maybe say, okay, we're going to make the record, and you're showing your fans that you're not you are doing it, and you're taking that risk, and you're just asking them to help you promote it. So you just want 2 grand for the PR, maybe.
Yeah. So this is why 2 or 3 singles before sensible. Because you've built it to the point where you've got something to plug your album into.
Yeah, you've got people who are following it and people who are going to consume it.
Yeah.
As a product, which is what it is.
It's very dangerous to say things in a black and white way because there's always exceptions to the rules. We know that, but I think if I was starting a new band, so I was about to start a new project, I'd probably look at putting a record out 2 years in and putting 3 or 4 singles out, and taking a long-term view.
Yeah, that's my sort of campaign model at the minute, is to have release a single every 2 months with a video, or 3 months, and do it that way. Is for the genre I work in, that's my current campaign model.
I think that it's sensible to take this long-term view. That kind of 2-year run-up also allows you to plan that campaign in detail. I'm talking about press, radio, PR, touring, social media, putting a whole lot together, because bands break or bands go up the rungs of the ladder when everything happens at once.
Yes.
A bit of radio doesn't make any difference on its own. Neither, surprisingly, does even very big support tours.
Yeah.
But when everything happens at once, that's when it kind of happens for you. So we know that's going to happen. We've got time to plan for it. But I've got a question, George. By building this up, we may well have a choice of either crowdfunding to make this record, or doing a more traditional record deal. What do you think the pros and cons are?
Pros to a crowdfunding is you can get your fans involved, so they come on that journey with you, which I think is such a huge part of music these days. I think letting people in behind the scenes, for me personally, I think this closed door thing doesn't work anymore. Being honest and open and bringing people on your journey is all part of it. That's what I like the crowdfunding model for that reason. You also own all your rights and you retain all your rights, so you can always license it to a record label later on if you choose to.
And because the fans are coming to you directly, the economic case is enormous. There's a lot of difference between 10 quid per download or CD or t-shirt compared to what you get by the time you've gone through the machinery of a record deal, and paid back advances and all the rest of it. So let's never forget that 1,000 fans paying 10 quid is 10 grand. So that's quite powerful. Do you think that a crowdfunding system could lead to record deals? Because I've seen that happening.
I think when you look at a lot of record labels these days, they're kind of looking for proof. They're looking for proof that a project is happening and doing as well as it's sort of made out to be, because a lot of people can kind of fake it on social media.
If we're on Dragon's Den, they'd call that you've proved the concept.
Yeah. So if you've crowdfunded an album and you've proved that there's 1,000 fans out there, that a record label are going to hopefully buy into that.
Want to buy in, but at that point, ironically, you don't need them probably.
Probably by the point.
Or maybe you do, depending on where you want to take it and what they can bring to the table. So we'd never rule that. Well,
because you've got to look at the machine that they have that you can plug into, and sometimes it's better to go, okay, maybe this isn't the best deal, but again, that long-term plan, we'll plug into this machine, do 2 records, and then jump out.
A good case study is our friends Massive Wagons, managed by Terry Chapman, who've done their fair share of DIY stuff, moved the whole project onto Earache at the right time, and ended up with a top 20 album a week or so ago.
If you look at While She Sleeps, they were on Sony, they left, did their pledge, they did 300% on pledge. And for me, that's one of the most important pledge campaigns of the last couple of years. The way they took their fans on that journey. As soon as I saw the first video, I was just like, take my money. I want to be part of it. It's wicked. And I think creating that for your fans is hugely important, to take them on that journey if that's the route you choose.
And these days, a journey, is like this. Record deals do come and go. So you might be doing a record deal and then back to crowdfunding. That's how our careers tend to be over the long term. So tip number 1, you've only got one opportunity to make a debut album, so you've got to make it count. The quality of the songs is everything at this point. So if you've any doubt in your mind, just keep releasing singles and hold off on the debut album until it's going to kill people.
Tip number 2, have patience. There's no point making an album if you then haven't got anything to plug it into. Make sure you factor in that budget for PR and maybe touring as well, and videos, so you can plug it into the machine so it can go somewhere.
Tip number 3, very important, you hear me talking about this all the time, have a plan and make sure the band share that vision, and you'll see loads of videos on this subject on the WaterBear YouTube channel. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to keep in contact and know what's going on, and if there's any particular subject you want us to cover, put it in the comments below and we'll have a look at it. And as always, if you need any help with your career, you can email us through the WaterBear website. If you're finding that music's becoming a super important part of your life, you can come and study with us and do this kind of work full time, whether you're in a band or you're a solo musician or a singer or a singer-songwriter or a producer.